So, the Final Fantasy VII Remake has come out, and for some reason, there are three kind of responses. The people with blinders on who are saying the game is perfect and love it to bits, the people who are mad at the new stuff and are invalid, and then the people who are raging at the fact the game has a sense of fun, and that the story is just as dumb as it was back in the 90s, and that not one of, if not several of, the head writers slash developers that got to be a part of this remake got to make changes they always wanted to, while also making the status quo ghosts that are honestly one of the most interesting things in the game, to me at least. But yeah, those are the people talking about this game. For me, I fall somewhere in the first camp, but with some notes, because while I think this game is amazing, I still have a list of gripes due to the fact of how the game is going about its combat. The story has gripes as well, but in all honesty, it's a Nomura game. It has problems in general. But that's a great thing because it leads the way for fabulous retcons later on. I'm looking at you, Remind, you backpedaling, ass-kissing plot rehasher. Not that I don't love Remind to bits, I really do, but I'm just calling it like I sees it. So let's look at what I have issues with, and then we'll end on things I liked about the game. Funny how that works, isn't it? First off, the magic system. Now let me be clear, the materia system is fine. I like how it levels up, and if you just grind for days on like Fat Chocobo, you can get it all just fully leveled. So that's fun. But my problem is in how you have no iframes during magic, and the animations for mid or even third tier spells takes for fucking ever. Like, look at how long it takes me to cast Thyraga. I could run a marathon in the time it takes me to cast that spell. I could do my taxes. You get my point. The spells take too fucking long. And while I understand that they take up more MP, and thus would cost more energy and concentration to do, why the fuck don't you have any iframes? Seriously, that is one of my biggest problems I have with the game, seeing as healing is relegated to cure or items, and the item animations take up no real time or resources, and is significantly shorter than the healing one. Look at this shit. I cast heal, the animation is completed, and I die before it takes effect. The fuck? The other problem is that from the moment you confirm the spell, even if it's interrupted, it takes the required MP. Why? Just why? Seriously, either one of these decisions makes sense on their own, given that the game wants you to prioritize strategy above all else, but both at the same time just seems like a weird way to punish the player. This only really becomes a problem when it's a group versus horde encounter or a one-on-one, while you wait for Satan to personally hand-deliver the fireball from his personal stash in hell. I personally would just want magic to give you iframes, and maybe take less time to cast. Like, shaving off 3 seconds from the cast time would fix half the problems, or simply just don't make MP be taken up by confirming the spell. Wait till the spell is cast and leaves your hand before you take it away. Why am I being punished in a cost reward system when I can pay the fine and the reward is shortchanged from me? Or, here's an idea, make the MP take half as much if you get interrupted. That way you still get punished, but you take less of a punishment. Those are just some of the ways I thought magic could be improved. Let's move on to physical combat, shall we? Only my only real gripe comes with Tifa and Cloud, but this can also tie into the world traversal as well, but I'll get there. Why is there no jump button? I get that the OG game didn't have one, but honestly you could have just ripped off Kingdom Hearts 3 and had that button set up and the using of heavier attacks like Punisher Mode and Rising Uppercut to R1 or something, or even just up on the D-pad. I don't understand why we can't jump, because the game has scripted events where Cloud looks like the Trix Rabbit and the Cocoa Puffs bird had an ADD baby, and there are enemies that demand you be in the air, like the copter guys and the dragons, so a jump and then an air combo would have made sense. Aerith took some getting used to, but honestly she's really fun to dink around with for the 5 or so chapters she's a part of. Barrett is a lot more fun once you get to his chapter of the game, but in the first half, and even the start of chapter 16, I found him kinda a dick because he still doesn't trust Cloud even after all he's done for Avalanche, and even having gone through the trauma of seeing Jessie die. So that was weird, but gameplay wise he was consistently useful is the word I'll use. He never got fun till Maximum Fury, which was just stupid fun to use, and basically carried me till the end of the game. One last point of contention I have for the game in the non-story area is in how the game never lets you have all 4 party members at once. Someone is always gone or just not in the party, and I cannot explain why. Like in chapter 17 and 18, you're all there, but the game keeps finding reasons to send someone, namely Barrett in my playthrough, away, and it's just frustrating. Oh, also there were random difficulty spikes, and I am baffled how they came to be. Like the start of chapter 6 or that stupid ass tank thing at the end of chapter 17. Like Sephiroth wasn't that difficult and I had to fight him 3 times. Okay, so my only gripe with the story is just how it transitions to gameplay. It does this thing in modern games that I'm frankly just sick of, and that's the bullshit one-take aesthetic that only really makes sense if you A, never die, and B, ignore all the cuts in the cutscenes that ruin that one-shot look. So the game has what I'm gonna call loading hallways, where you're just stuck up against a wall and have to shimmy across it while the characters either talk about the shit that has already happened, or restating what their goal is, or even a vague notion of, I hope everyone's okay, and honestly it was interesting. the first time, but after a while I just got sick of it. The only exception this makes sense in is the areas that are subsections of areas you're already in, like the little place where the kids hang out or the treasure room in the sewers, because those aren't loading, those are just sly ways to make the rooms hidden. In all honesty, a loading screen would have been fine with me. I've heard people complain that it breaks immersion in the world, but A, this game has loading screens when you use the chocobo riding feature and when you die, and B, this isn't real life. This isn't even a simulator. Who gives a fuck about immersion in a game where a fucking cat with a tiny crown, a red cape, and some boots is a thing that's just casually walking around with a guy who can swing a sword that is proven to be physically impossible for one person to lift? Realism is thrown out the fucking door, guys. Stop trying to apply it to shit that doesn't need it. I had a friend recently tell me that they wanted to play a movie, like a video game with the pacing, cinematography, and drama of a real movie, just with someone you control. Mind you, they were praising the remake of Resident Evil 3, which for those of you who don't know, is a game with a 7-foot-tall faceless juggernaut with a tentacle for a right arm who chases you down to kill you and is literally like Batman in that they could just appear and disappear at the whim of the writers, and who at one point, and I shit you not, tries to gun you down with a shoulder-mounted rocket launcher. Why the fuck does that need to be realistic or cinematic? It's stupid as fuck and is in need of an award for that level of what the fuck writing. Like, holy fucking shit, this is the coolest thing ever! But for some reason, it's bogged down by him looking like what would happen if you stuck Krang from the Ninja Turtles into a taffy puller and shoved him through the Unreal Engine 4. Stop making games look so realistic. It doesn't make them better, it just makes them take longer to make.
I hated her so much. Flames on the side of my face, heaving breaths.
Alrighty, now that that's out of my system, let's go on to the good things in this game, which is honestly everything else. While I did just spend time bitching on how I think realism is killing games because people are looking at the pore on your character's faces rather than if that character is written well or not, I do have to say that this game looks very pretty. The textures are nice, the models on all the 20 or so named characters are all well done, and even some of the side characters are decent enough, given you only spend about 45 minutes at most with any of them, but I digress. The animations, while long, are rather pretty and flow well with the character they're assigned to. I especially like Aerith in the voice line department when you switch to her or have her use an item, because she has such cute lines.
Keep it together.
I'll show you what I can do.
The summon quotes are pretty good too.
Do your thing.
The one person I hate after a fight though is Tifa, because she comments on how you could have done better, but it's never in a constructive way, it's always just like, man, we sucked. So that got annoying after a while, but in actual cutscenes, she's wonderful, and my god, this scene in Aerith's garden just gets me in my soul.
They took everything from us. Again.
The switching of characters in combat is so smooth and is actually a really good follow-through on the Final Fantasy XV DLC, where you got the ability to switch to any one of the boyfriend crew as well. Although it did take a minute to actually take effect because it was an add-on in some DLC and not the main feature of the game like it is here. Also, thank God you can give and take materia from people even when they're not in the party. It makes leveling things up take so much less time and is honestly one of the few things that makes grinding take less time. What else do I like about this game? Well, the humor is right up my alley. Why? Because it comes organically from the characters due to the scenario they're placed in. Like, Cloud is embarrassed he's dressed like a woman and doesn't want to talk about it to either Aerith or Tifa, and even blushes while both girls give him the biggest, shit-eatingest grin I've seen of all time, and I love it.
Cloud? Is that you? Oh my god, that makeup! And that dress!
Nailed it. I know. Thank you. Moving on.
Aerith says shit at one point, and it fits the moment, and her character in this game due to the fact that she almost fell off a building and broke a ladder. That's an oh shit moment if I've ever seen one. And of course, with every good, there's a slight problem with it, and that again is a part of the realism that plagues modern games, and that's the fact that the game has to have everything in normal conversation be diegetic, and thus if a person is either too far, and I mean more than 3 feet away from you, or is off camera, you will not hear half of what they're saying, and it baffles me this was a design choice. Like, just have it play as if they were next to you. Every other game does this. Why is this one any different? It actually takes me out of the experience when I have to stop looking for secrets to have the person I'm with catch up to me so that we can hear what the fuck they're talking about. Like, patch this, it's so frustrating. And again, it doesn't need to be this way because it's a video game. What else do I like? Well, I love the way everything flows. Like, you can see how each of the story beats leads from one to the other, which is great. There aren't really any gaping plot holes, and the stupid ghosts could use a bit more explaining before the last chapter of the game, but I was at least interested in them and I kept making Harry Potter jokes. So that's always fun. One thing I've heard about this game is that it's bad because it's just the first act of the OG game structured over the course of like 8 hours of cutscenes and 13 hours of gameplay, and to that I say, why does that fucking matter? First of all, while the combat is satisfying, it's really repetitive and not fun after like the 1000th generic enemy in the game. I found the boss fights more engaging, and the story beats had me hyped as all hell. And second off, it's a solid 21 to 30 hour game that tells a full, complete story that leads to a sequel a few years down the line, that sets up at least a few plot threads. Hey, wait a second, what does that sound like? Oh yeah, a competently made story with people who know what the fuck they're doing. The plot makes sense, is as coherent as it can be while Noir is driving the mechanized cat suit, and overall, I just found it a joy to play. I often heard the story wasn't charming or even fun outside the stuff that was in the original, but honestly, I found that to be the worst idea because all of Chapter 4 is new content, and from the moment it starts, it just made me cheer, because Roach is the best thing since Tummy Rubs, and I love him. Honestly, he is so over the top and cool and funny, and it makes me happy. I didn't play the original, so I have no idea how well this game stacks up, but I've heard it's a great telling of the first disc of the game, which I think is fair. The first act of the game is supposed to set up the conflicts of the main characters. The only thing is, this has to be the first act in the presumably 3-act structure, with itself having a 3-act structure. So they may have moved old Sephi to the end of this game, but the goal was to find him anyway, so no harm, no foul. The end goal is the same. How we got there was different. And to me, the road we took was amazing. Alright, rapid fire time.
Bang! Whoop, my finger's not a gun.
My favorite girl? Jessie. She made me laugh the most, and her death fucking killed me to the point I made it a running joke throughout that video, and it still hurts.
Don't you guys have somewhere to be? It's not polite to stare, you know.
My favorite main girl? Aerith. Which is a surprise because my only real exposure to her before this was KH1, 2, and Remind, and in that she sounds awful and phoned in, and my god, she was so bland. But here she's funny, witty, sassy, pure, and needs love and protection. I love her. My favorite side character? Roach. I mean, god damn, look at that intro. My favorite boy? Andre. He's so extra and I live for it.
Honey, I'm in love.
My favorite chapter? It's a toss-up between 8 or 9. My favorite summon? Shiva, for her style. Plus, I learned why the Ice Titan Keyblade in KH1 is named Diamond Dust. It's from her finishing move. Neat. My favorite scene? The dance sequence. Which, can we talk about this for a hot second? Oh my god, do I love this whole thing. The music, the lighting, the fact that you go through like 3 different genres of music, and that you could utterly fail this minigame, and the fact that Cloud is apparently an amazing fucking dancer is awesome to me, and I want 50 more just like it. God, this is so cool. Favorite music track is Collapsed Underground because this shit slaps hard. My favorite side quest, oddly enough, is the Moogle Kid because he just wants to help. And who doesn't like that? And it was probably the easiest to do at the time because I had like 30 Moogle medals somehow. My favorite little touch? The fact you can buy any of the songs in the game for like 50 gil and you can play them on any jukebox. Thought that was really cool. And lastly, my favorite what the fuck moment is this weird looking cat thing that just kind of shows up at the end of chapter 12 because he is cute and strange and I want to hug him and feel his little crown and also squeeze his boots because he's so adorable and I hope they squeak. But seriously, what the fuck is with this cat? Still love him though, he's cute. Oh, also, enemies are good and are intuitive to figure out, and the assist materia is a must-have. Please use it, it is very helpful for boss fights. Oh, and make sure everyone has every elemental materia. You have no idea how much not doing that screwed me over in my playthrough. So just have 4 of each at all times and level them up as best you can. And take Eris when she's not there and like give her clouds or something so that she has full materia and isn't useless in later chapters. Final Fantasy VII Remake, that really should have a "the" in front of it. Sounds too clunky without it, but anyway, this game is good. And while I bitched about a lot of things, it's because I like the game enough to point out the flaws in it. Liking something doesn't mean you have to be endlessly positive about it. I found myself laughing or even going aw at the cute moments in the story, and only really being frustrated when the game suddenly kicked my ass for no real reason, and then went right back to being normal again with no apparent middle ground. Yes, there are gripes and things I wish they would fix, but as it is right now, as I record this, I'd still play it again, and even do a hard mode run, which, by the way, get to level 50 before you even try doing this, because the game really isn't designed for you to play it on hard in any other way. So, fair warning, you will get creamed almost instantly. With that, I think I'm done with this review. I could go on and on and on, but I think I've exhausted all I care to talk about. But yeah, go get it, worth your time. My name is Chris, and I hope you all have a fractastic day.
But whatever happens, you can't fall in love with me. Even if you think you have, it's not real.